G'day, I'm Luke Bateman, and this is In the Good Books. This is a podcast where we dive into the most incredible stories ever told and talk about the books which have left lasting impressions on you long after you close the cover. If you're a book nerd, you'll love this podcast. If you've always wanted to get into reading and books but never understood the hype or where to start, you're in the right place. Or if you're simply someone who enjoys a good story, you're welcome too. Let the adventures begin. We've got audio from Amelia.
Hi Luke, straight off the top, I just want to let you know I'm not huge into books or reading of any sorts. However, I have just started seeing someone who's very into your videos, very into your podcast and loves books, fantasy to be exact. My question to you is, what book would you suggest I start reading so I can drop into conversation with them?
Okay. Thank you, Amelia. I really appreciate that. If the person that you've just started seeing likes my videos and likes my book recommendations, marry that person. I promise you that you are on an absolute winner. As for books you can read to impress your partner, I would probably suggest a book that I just finished reading actually, which is The Heart's Invisible Furies by Boyne. Now this is an incredible story. But if your partner sees you or someone you're trying to impress sees you reading a book called The Heart's Invisible Furies, doesn't matter what's beneath the cover, I don't think. I think that they are immediately going to be impressed. Like, what is not impressive about reading a book called The Heart's Invisible Furies? I don't know if it's just me, but that title blows me away, and I'm so envious that I was not the one to come up with that, because there's something so beautiful about that, and I don't think anyone seen reading a book with that title would be considered anything less than godlike. So please, if you want to impress your partner, go buy that book and read that book in front of them, because it'll blow them away. How do we become the best version of ourselves? How do you become the best version of you? As you know by now, I am someone who went on a very, very large personal growth journey, and I'm still on that journey, still absolutely in the infancy of that journey, I would say. But I love self-development books. I love books that expand our awareness. I love books that expand our perspective. I love books that teach us about ourselves. I love books that make us better people. I love books that allow us to show up better in the world, show up better for ourselves, show up better for our loved ones, show up better for our friends, just show up better for every person that we come in contact to every single day. And these are the 4 books that I recommend that you have to read for 2026 so that you can become the best version of you, and so you can show up better in the world for yourself. Always this time of year is the time of, self-reflection and looking back at the year that's past and the year ahead. And everyone's getting on board with their New Year's resolutions or what they want to achieve or what their goals for the year ahead are. And I just want to say to you that the number one goal should be to integrate yourself as a person so you can show up outwardly the same way that you show up inwardly. And the power of books to change your life. Like, I mean this, I mean it so highly. Like, the power of books to change your life, to give you the tools, to give you the knowledge and the awareness that you need to achieve everything you desire in the year ahead. Like, that power and that knowledge, it belongs in books. And I'm going to give you 4 books, and I'm going to give you them in an order that I think that you should read them in, because each book and what they give you is a new step along the path of being able to apply what you learned from the previous book, and they really sort of stack up against each other to just catapult you and give you incredible momentum into everything that you're hoping to achieve in the year ahead. Book number 1 is The Science of Stuck by Britt. This book sets the foundations for your personal journey by starting with the root of the problem. So this was this was a life-changing book for me. I read this book very, very early in my own growth journey, and it was just phenomenal because Britt talks about like personal blockages in just such a compassionate and kind way. And I think I was always a person who felt so stuck in everything I did. Like I would try to achieve something, but my old patterns and my old habits and just all of the baggage that I carried just always got in the way. And this book was such an awesome place to actually understand what those issues were and just be kind to myself about it, because she talks in this book about, obviously it's called The Science of Stuck and it's about becoming unstuck, but she talks about how anxiety and all of our emotions and a lot of things are actually hardwired into us to protect us, to keep us from harm. Our Mother Nature didn't put us here to grow. Mother Nature put us here to survive. And all of our hardwiring keeps us surviving, not thriving. But in the same way that it can keep us stuck, that can also be our superpower. In this book, she talks about how feeling stuck isn't a moral failing or laziness. It's a biological and neurological response, often linked to trauma or anxiety, that you can't just think your way out of it. You can't just sit there and think, okay, I'm going to do this, and then it just happens. It's something that you have to physically and spiritually work through. Why this is the first stop of your journey and an absolute must read is before trying to build new habits and before trying to achieve goals and find purpose, you need to understand how to address your inner world and how to address your emotions and how to address the psychological barriers that are holding you back or that will impede you from achieving what you want to achieve and instilling in these new habits and new behaviors that you really desire in your life. As I said, to be able to change in the outside world, you need to change in the inside world first. And this book gives you the why behind the what of personal growth. One of the key takeaways from this book for me was just like the practical tools and the insight, just understanding the difference between feeling stuck and being unmotivated and the importance of kindness and self-compassion towards yourself. And she does really just talk through these so simply and give you such simple and understandable advice and knowledge on what are quite complex issues and how you can just start working through those day to day. And within, very, very quickly, you can overcome things that are really holding you back and keeping you stuck. Then we move into book 2, which is Atomic Habits by James Clear. And now that you're in a place, hopefully now that you're in a place where you're unstuck and you have the ability to change in your life, this book helps to build an action plan with realistic and achievable goal-setting tips. Atomic Habits is a book that completely changed my life. And it was a key book that helped me overcome my gambling addiction. And it was so powerful for me. The core concept of this book is it explains the power of small incremental improvements. And the core philosophy is that you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And truly, as a gambling addict, like that was my every single day. Like I always had this goal of being like, I want to get sober. I want to get into recovery. I don't want to do this anymore. But my habits and my systems never allowed me to do that. So I was setting all these massive goals, but I couldn't ever achieve them because my system just kept me doing the exact same thing over and over. And James talks about in Atomic Habits, one of the life-changing things for me to learn was that to change your habits, like you have to change your personality. Like when a habit becomes a part of who you are, when something is no longer something that you do, it is who you are, like that is when your life truly changes. And that was something for me that I really struggled with, because gambling was who I was. Like gambling was a part of me. And when I was trying to get free of it and trying to stay in recovery, my identity was always like, oh, I'm someone who is trying to get clean of gambling. And when I actually changed that story in my head and changed it to, I am a person who doesn't gamble, and I changed my identity and I changed my personality to fit that new story, that is when like my everything like really changed and went quickly in the other direction. And that's what he talks about in this book. And it's about giving you the tools to do that, like just daily. Like it's just like that 1% a day, just those small incremental improvements that will stack up over time, and the compounding interest of those over the next year for 2026. By the time you get to this point in 2027, you will be like, oh my God, I cannot believe how far I come. And this is an absolute must read for 2026, because it just, as I said, provides that simple, actionable framework to build good habits and break bad ones. Now, we come to book 3, and that is the Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. I love Mel. I love this book. This book is about mindset and perspective shift. So now hopefully, we've got book 1 that allows you to understand yourself, to understand what's impeding you in your inner world and overcoming that. Now you've got book 2, which gives you the ability to start building habits and start working towards your goals. Now this book by Mel is all about mindset and being able to ignore the outside noise that comes to you in what you're trying to achieve and what you're building towards. And the core concept of this book is just releasing control of what you can't change and focusing on what you can. Letting go of other people's opinions, what their actions, what their expectations are, just letting go of everything that you cannot control, which is literally 99.9% of the entire world. Like your every day, like you cannot control so much. And then taking your power back by saying, let me. And that's where you truly begin to change. Why this is a must read for 2026 is because this mindset is an absolute game changer. It will reduce your anxiety. It will help you set boundaries. It will let you reclaim your power. And everything that you want to achieve comes wholeheartedly from you holding on to your power and you not giving your power away, because you cannot achieve what you want to do if you continuously give your own power away. And she just highlights in this book such practical application of how to apply the let them theory. And that's in all aspects of life. That's in your work, that's in your relationship, that's in your personal goals, that's just with the world, that's with social media, that's just with everything. Being able to say, let them and let me is truly one of the most self-empowering set of four words that you'll ever come across in your life. And now that you know what's holding you back and what your habits want to be, now holding on to your power to be able to enforce those in your life, this is your next step in changing 2026. And this book was so incredibly powerful for me, because I got to the point where, I've talked about this very openly many times, is I just got to the point where I was like, I'm a person who just loves magic and I love books and I love stories, and I'm just a little kid in a grown-up's body, and I'm just sick of pretending to be. I'm pretending to be a mature adult who knows what I'm doing, because I don't know what I'm doing, and all I want to do is talk about magic with people. And this book was literally the book that gave me the power, or it allowed me to reclaim my own power and my own ability to go online and talk about loving fantasy books and loving reading in general, this book was the book that like tipped me over the edge for that, because I was like, you know what? I don't care what anyone says. Like, I don't, just let them. People can ridicule me. People can criticize me. They can say whatever they want. I cannot control what other people do or say or how they act. And this was, I just like, once I had that knowledge firmly seated in my mind, I was like, all I can control is me. And all I want to do is talk about books. And I'm going to go online and do that. And whatever anyone says about that, that is their prerogative. And I cannot change that. I cannot control it. And I just simply, I don't care about that, because I am going to let them do that. And I'm going to let me go online and talk about magic. And that was the moment that I posted my first video online, and that was a moment that changed my life forever. Now we come to book 4. So now that you've cleared out everything within you, you know what your habits are, you've taken back your power to be able to achieve everything that you want and not care what anybody else says, we get to really aligning ourselves and aligning our power and aligning our purpose with all of those things. And that is book 4, The Second Mountain by David Brooks. And that is discovering a deeper purpose to your life. The core concept of The Second Mountain is the exploration of the 2 mountains concept. The first mountain that we climb in life is of individual ambition and achievement. And the second mountain that we climb is a more joyous mountain, a more filling mountain, a more purposeful mountain. And it's, discovering what our actual real place in the world is through commitment to community, family, and a higher calling. Why this book is a must-read for 2026 is that after we get unstuck, we build our habits, and we master our mindset, this book will help you answer the bigger question in your life. And what is all of this for? What did I do all of this for? What did all this growth for? What was this personal journey all for? Like, who did I become this power, this empowered version of myself to be? Like, I did all of this work. Now, what did I actually want to do with all of this and all of who I am now? And this book will provide a framework for finding purpose and finding passion and living a life of much deeper meaning beyond personal ambition and personal success, and beyond that first mountain of ambition, and beyond that first mountain, which I would describe as an ego mountain. Beyond that, when you move into the second mountain of community and larger change in the world, that is where this book will take you. And this book was so important for me in my life, because as I went on my journey, and as I became a person who I was finally comfortable with, and I was finally proud of, like I became a person who was proud to look in the mirror and see the man standing back at me, I was like, okay, well, now I've sorted out my inner world, and I've got things outside going well as well. How do I now help? How do I now use my journey and use my story and use my wisdom, my hard-won wisdom? How do I use that to contribute and make my space and make my world a better place? And to understand that we all go through the first mountain journey of ambition and success, and that was truly the mountain that I climbed first, which was, I sought status, and I sought money. I sought out worldly objects, and that was what I built my first mountain upon. And I got to the top of that mountain, and it was the shallowest and loneliest place I've been. And this allowed me to understand the second mountain. And he talks about it, that the second mountain comes through commitment, and there's 4 commitments that you need to make, and that is commitment to a partner, commitment to a community, commitment to a vocation, and commitment to a faith. And that's not as like, that doesn't have to be religious, but those 4 big commitments in your life is what gives your life meaning. And that for me, I was like, you know what? Like I don't have that in my life. Like commitment in my life, committing to these things or committing to ideals and committing to things larger than yourself, changing the I into the we. Like that is where true purpose comes from. And I think that that's such an apt place to finish your 2026 must reads in climbing your second mountain. So the wrap up from all of this is we begin with getting unstuck with Britt Frank, building lifelong value systems with James Clear, and building those habits that just stack up day after day to build the life that we want, finding our own power and holding on to our own power and discovering inner peace from everything we can't control with Mel Robbins, and then discovering purpose and commitment in our life with David Brooks. I know that there are so many different avenues to personal growth, and there are so many different journeys that everyone as an individual goes on, and these are just my recommendations from the journey I went on. And there's always time to find space and to grow, and how you do that is just so important to you as a person. But please, if you're writing out your 2026 goals, make one of them to read more books. And I really hope that you read those books, because they changed my life, and I really want them to help change your life as well. As always, a massive thank you to everyone who sent messages through the podcast. We've been inundated, and I love hearing from you all. To get in touch, hit us up at goodbooks@9.com.au for any more details on this. You can check out the podcast notes below. I hope you're all having a safe and happy holiday period. I cannot wait to get into more of the good books with you all in 2026.